Nathan Hayes stood on the porch of his small cabin watching the night sky. His life had fallen apart in just 3 months. His wife left him, taking most of their savings. Then he lost his job at the engineering firm. Now, the bank wanted to take his home. Tonight might be one of his last nights in this peaceful place in the Montana woods. He took a sip from his coffee mug and sighed. The night was clear, with thousands of stars visible above the trees. At least the sky was still, beautiful. Suddenly a bright light streaked across the darkness. Nathan blinked, thinking it was just a shooting star. But this one grew bigger and brighter. It was heading toward Earth, toward the forest behind his property. The light crashed down with a boom that shook the ground. A bright flash lit up the trees and birds flew away in panic. Nathan's coffee mug slipped from his hand and shattered on the wooden porch. "What the hell?" he whispered. His common sense told him to go inside and lock the door. But curiosity pushed him forward. He grabbed his flashlight and jacket, then headed into the woods. The smell of burnt wood and something strange, like metal and electricity, filled the air as he walked. After 15 minutes of careful steps through the dark forest, Nathan saw an orange glow ahead. He expected to find a crater with a smoking rock. What he found instead changed his life forever. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship. The vessel was about the size of a small car, but shaped like nothing Nathan had ever seen. It curved and twisted in ways that didn't seem possible, with a surface that shifted colors slightly as he moved his flashlight across it. Part of it was buried in the earth, surrounded by scorched dirt and fallen trees. "This can't be real," Nathan said to himself, his voice shaking. A section of the ship's side was damaged, creating an opening. Nathan approached slowly, his heart pounding in his chest. He pointed his flashlight inside. That's when he saw her. Addie. First he thought she was human, a woman with delicate features. But as his light fell on her face, he realized she was something else. Her skin was pale blue with faint patterns that glowed beneath the surface. Her hair was silver white and seemed to float slightly, as if underwater. She wore a tight-fitting suit made of material that looked like liquid metal. She was hurt. A silvery fluid, blood, leaked from a wound on her side. Her eyes were closed and she didn't move when Nathan called out. Every movie he'd ever watched told him to run away. Call the government. Don't touch the alien. But something about her seemed so vulnerable. And Nathan had always been the kind of person who helped first and asked questions later. "Hello?" he said softly. "Can you hear me?" No response. The silvery blood was evaporating when it touched the air, turning into a mist that disappeared quickly. Nathan made a quick decision. He couldn't leave her here to die. Very carefully, he reached into the ship and lifted her out. She was surprisingly light, as if her bones were hollow like a bird's. Her skin was cool to the touch, and the glowing patterns under her skin pulsed slowly. "I'm going to help you," he told her, though he wasn't sure if she could hear him. "My cabin is close by." Nathan carried her through the forest, back to his home. He noticed the strange way her chest moved when she breathed, not quite like a human. The silver blood from her wound left no stain on his jacket. It simply vanished into the air. Inside his cabin, Nathan placed her gently on his bed. He got his first aid kit and tried to figure out how to help an alien with a wound. The cut on her side wasn't deep, but it was still bleeding. He cleaned it as best he could and placed a bandage over it, hoping it would help. As he worked, Nathan wondered if he was making a huge mistake. What if she was dangerous? What if more aliens came looking for her? What if she carried some space disease that would kill him? But when he looked at her face, so peaceful despite her injury, he couldn't bring himself to regret helping her. Nathan sat in a chair next to the bed, planning to watch over her for just a few minutes. But the excitement and fear of the night caught up with him and he dozed off. He woke with a start when he felt something touch his arm. The alien woman was awake. Her eyes were open wide, looking straight at him. They were completely black, but with tiny dots of light inside them like a night sky full of stars. Her hand rested lightly on his arm. "You helped me," she said in perfect English, her voice musical and strange. Nathan jumped slightly, surprised that she could speak his language. Yes, he answered. Your ship crashed in the woods. You were hurt. She tried to sit up but winced in pain. Nathan gently helped her lean against the pillows. Thank you, she said. Most of your kind would have called your authorities. Maybe I should have, Nathan admitted. But you needed help. The alien woman studied his face with those starry eyes. My name is Lyra, she said after a moment. I'm Nathan. Nathan Hayes. Nathan, she repeated, the name sounding different in her musical voice. I am in your debt. Are you... you're not from Earth, are you? He asked, though the answer was obvious. A small smile appeared on her blue lips. No, I come from a world orbiting a star you cannot see from here. How can you speak English? We have studied your world for a long time, she answered. I am a scientist. Learning languages is part of my work. Lyra looked around the cabin, taking in the simple furniture, the fireplace, the books on the shelves. Her glowing patterns brightened slightly as she observed her surroundings. This dwelling is... interesting, she said. Nathan laughed nervously. It's not much, but it's home, or was. I'm probably losing it soon. Lyra turned her star-filled eyes back to him. Why? Money problems. It's complicated. Nathan shook his head. But that's not important right now. What happened to you? Why did you crash? Lyra's face changed, the glowing patterns dimming. She looked toward the window, as if checking for something outside. Please, she whispered, suddenly gripping Nathan's arm tightly. They cannot find me. Who? Nathan asked, feeling a chill run down his spine. The ones who shot down my ship, Lyra said. I escaped because I discovered something they want to keep secret. Something about your people, about humans. Nathan stared at her, confused and afraid. What secret? Lyra opened her mouth to answer, but then her body tensed. She tilted her head as if listening to something Nathan couldn't hear. They're coming, she whispered, her star eyes wide with fear. They've traced my ship. Nathan looked out the window but saw only darkness. I don't see anything, he said. They are not here yet, Lyra explained. But they will be soon. My kind can sense each other from far away. Your kind? There are more of you? Lyra nodded. We are called the Astrani. We come from a star system you call Cygnus. Nathan sat down on the edge of the bed, his mind racing. Why are they after you? What did you discover? Lyra's star-filled eyes studied him carefully. If I tell you, your life will never be the same. You will be in danger too. I think that ship sailed when I brought an alien home, Nathan said with a nervous laugh. Lyra smiled slightly. True. She took a deep breath. I am a scientist who studies the history of life on different planets. My people have been watching Earth for thousands of years. Watching us? Like UFOs and stuff? Yes, we observe but never interfere. That is our highest law. Lyra's glowing skin patterns pulsed faster. But I found evidence that this law was broken long ago. The truth about humans has been hidden, even from most of my own people. Nathan felt his mouth go dry. What truth? Not yet, Lyra said, looking out the window again. First, we must hide my presence. They can track me by my biological signature. She tried to stand but almost fell. Nathan caught her, surprised again by how light she was. You need to rest, he said. There is no time. Lyra pointed to her suit. In the pocket there is a small device like a crystal. Nathan found it, a clear crystal that glowed with blue light when he touched it. Place it by your power source, Lyra instructed. You mean like an outlet? Yes, it will mask my presence for a short time. Nathan plugged the crystal into an outlet in the wall. It pulsed once, then glowed steadily. The lights in the cabin dimmed slightly. That will help, Lyra said. But it is temporary. We should move to a different location soon. Nathan shook his head in disbelief. Just yesterday his biggest worry was being evicted. Now he was hiding an alien fugitive. I have a friend with a hunting cabin deeper in the mountains, he suggested. We could go there. That would be wise, Lyra agreed. For the next 3 days, they stayed in Nathan's cabin while Lyra recovered. Her wounds healed much faster than a human's would. By the second day, she could walk around the cabin without help. Nathan found himself fascinated by her. Lyra was curious about everything human. She examined his books, his tools, even his canned food with intense interest. She couldn't eat human food. Instead, she absorbed energy directly from light. Your technology is primitive but creative, she told him as she studied his old radio. Humans find unusual solutions to problems. Thanks, I think, Nathan replied. He learned more about her world, too. The Astrani lived much longer than humans. Lyra was over 200 Earth years old, though she looked young. Their society was highly organized, with strict rules about contact with other species. We believe in observation only, she explained one evening as they sat by the fireplace. My people think interference damages the natural development of other life forms. But you said someone interfered with humans? Lyra's star eyes turned toward him. Yes, and that is why I am being hunted. On the 4th morning, Nathan woke to find Lyra taking apart his microwave. What are you doing? He asked, alarmed. Building a communication blocker, she replied calmly, her slender blue fingers working with incredible speed. I need to send a message to allies, but I must make sure it cannot be traced. You have allies? Some of my people agree with me. They help me in secret. She connected 2 wires and the device hummed to life. There. Now I can send a secure message. Nathan watched as she spoke in a strange language to the device. The words sounded like music, rising and falling in patterns he couldn't follow. After she finished, Lyra turned to Nathan with serious eyes. It is time I told you what I discovered, why they want to silence me. They sat at his small kitchen table. Lyra's glowing patterns were dim now, as if she were conserving energy. Thousands of years ago, she began, my ancestors came to Earth. They found primitive humans, early hominids you call them. They were curious about your potential. Nathan listened, his coffee growing cold in front of him. Some Astrani scientists conducted experiments, Lyra continued. They combined their genetic material with these early humans. Nathan's eyes widened. Are you saying aliens bred with humans? In a way. It was more like genetic engineering. They wanted to see if they could create a hybrid species with the best traits of both. Lyra's voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. The experiment was successful, too successful. I don't understand. The new humans, your ancestors, developed faster than expected. They showed remarkable adaptability, creativity, and emotional depth, but also aggression and unpredictability. Nathan tried to process what she was saying. So, humans are part alien? Part you? Lyra nodded. Your myths of gods coming from the sky to create humans? They were based on truth. My ancestors were those gods. Nathan ran his hands through his hair, trying to make sense of it all. This is crazy. The experiment was supposed to be temporary, Lyra continued, but some Astrani grew attached to the new humans. They argued that the hybrids deserved to live and develop naturally. Others wanted to end the experiment. End it? You mean kill all humans? Yes. There was a great debate. In the end, they compromised. Earth was placed under quarantine, no further contact allowed. Humans would be left to develop on their own but watched carefully. Nathan stood up and paced around the small kitchen. So what's changed? Why are you being hunted now? Lyra's star eyes followed him. Because I discovered evidence that humans are developing abilities that were not expected. Psychic potential. Accelerated technological advancement. Some of you are beginning to show traits that make the Astrani Council afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that within a few generations humans might surpass us, and perhaps seek revenge for being created and abandoned. Lyra stood and placed a cool hand on Nathan's arm. The Council has been hiding this truth. They are planning something terrible. Nathan looked into her star-filled eyes. What are they planning? Before Lyra could answer, the crystal by the outlet started blinking rapidly. She tensed. "They're close," she whispered. "We must leave now." Nathan quickly packed a bag with essentials: food, water, a first aid kit, warm clothes. He grabbed his hunting rifle too, though Lyra told him it would be useless against Astrani technology. "Your friend's cabin," Lyra said urgently. "How far is it?" "About 15 miles through the forest. We can take my truck part of the way, then hike the rest." They slipped out the back door just as the crystal by the outlet exploded in a flash of blue light. The cabin's electricity went out completely. Nathan led Lyra to his old pickup truck parked behind the cabin. They got in and he started the engine. "Will they follow us?" he asked as they drove down the bumpy dirt road. "Yes," Lyra replied, looking behind them. "But the crystal's destruction will confuse them briefly. It might give us enough time." As they drove deeper into the forest, Nathan's mind raced with questions. His whole understanding of human history had just been turned upside down. And now he was running from alien pursuers with a beautiful alien scientist who had risked everything to reveal the truth. "Lyra," he said as they bounced along the forest road, "there's something you're not telling me, isn't there? Something worse?" She turned her star-filled eyes to him, the glowing patterns on her skin pulsing slowly. "Yes," she admitted quietly. "Something much worse." Nathan drove as far as the forest road would allow. The truck bounced over rocks and roots until they reached a point where trees blocked the path completely. "We'll have to walk from here," he said, grabbing his backpack. Lyra stepped out of the truck, her star eyes scanning the forest. "They will track the vehicle. We should move quickly." They hiked through the dense woods for hours. Nathan led the way, following trails only he could see. Lyra moved gracefully despite her recent injuries, hardly making a sound as she walked. "How much farther?" she asked as the sun began to set. "About 3 more miles," Nathan replied. "We should make it before dark." A distant sound made them both freeze. It was a low humming noise like electricity running through power lines, but much louder. "What is that?" Nathan whispered. Lyra's face showed fear. "Their ship. They're using scanners to find us. Can they see us through the trees?" "Not exactly, but they can detect my biological signature if I'm not careful." Lyra closed her eyes and the glowing patterns on her skin dimmed until they were barely visible. "This will help hide me, but we must keep moving." They continued through the forest, moving faster now. The humming sound sometimes grew louder, sometimes faded, but never disappeared completely. Twice they had to hide as strange lights passed overhead, scanning the trees. Just as darkness fell, they reached the hunting cabin. It was smaller than Nathan's home, just one room with basic furniture. A small generator provided electricity, and a wood stove offered heat. "It's not much," Nathan said as he unlocked the door. "But no one knows about this place except me and the owner, and he's in Florida for the winter." Lyra entered cautiously, her star eyes taking in every detail. "It will serve our purpose." Nathan started the generator and lit the wood stove. Soon the cabin was warm and dimly lit. He prepared some canned soup for himself, while Lyra stood by, the window, watching the forest. "They won't give up," she said softly. "They'll keep searching." "Who exactly is they?" Nathan asked as he ate his soup. "Enforcers, elite guards who serve the Astrani Council." Lyra turned to face him. "They're trained to track and capture or eliminate those who break our laws." Nathan put down his spoon. "And what law did you break?" "I accessed forbidden archives, records of the original experiments on humans." Lyra sat down across from him. "I learned things even most Astrani don't know, and I plan to share this knowledge widely." "Why? Why risk your life for this?" Lyra's star eyes seemed to look through him. "Because I believe the truth should be known, and because what the Council plans to do is wrong." Nathan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. "What are they planning, Lyra?" She was silent for a moment, her glowing patterns pulsing slowly. "The Council has authorized the collection of human specimens for study. They want to understand how humans are developing so quickly." "Specimens? You mean Kidnapping people? Yes, but that's not the worst of it. Lyra's voice became quieter. Some council members have proposed a more permanent solution to what they call the human problem. Nathan stared at her. What kind of solution? A targeted virus that would affect human reproduction. It would spread quickly but show no symptoms. Within 1 generation, humanity would fade away. Lyra's hands trembled slightly. They call it humane extinction. Nathan felt sick. He stood up and paced around the small cabin, trying to process what he was hearing. That's genocide, he said. Finally, yes. And that's why I had to act. Lyra stood and faced him. I couldn't let it happen, not when I discovered the truth about why they really fear humans. Which is what? Humans aren't just developing as expected. You're evolving exactly as you were designed to. Lyra's star, eyes locked with his. The original experiment wasn't just curiosity. It was an attempt to create a new kind of astronomy, one that could adapt more quickly to different environments. I don't understand. My people are dying, Nathan. Our birth rates have been falling for centuries. We struggle to adapt to new worlds. Lyra's voice was passionate now. Humans were meant to be the solution, a new branch of our species that could thrive where we could not. But when you developed too quickly, showed too much independence, the experiment was abandoned. Nathan sat down heavily. So we're just failed experiments? No. Lyra knelt in front of him. You're much more than that. You're the future of both our species. My research proves it. Your adaptability, your creativity, these are strengths, not flaws. A strange feeling rose in Nathan's chest, a mix of anger, confusion, and something else he couldn't name. Why should I believe you, he asked. How do I know you're not manipulating me? Lyra's expression showed hurt. I risked everything to save your species. I am hunted by my own people. Why would I do that if I meant you harm? Nathan had no answer. He looked into her star-filled eyes and saw sincerity there. Despite everything, he believed her. Their conversation was cut short by a sound outside, a twig snapping. Both of them froze. Turn off the lights, Lyra whispered. Nathan quickly switched off the lantern. The only light came from the cracks in the wood stove and Lyra's faintly glowing skin. Through the window they saw them, 3 tall figures moving through the trees. They looked almost human, but were too tall, too fluid in their movements. Their skin glowed blue like Lyra's, but more intensely. Enforcers, Lyra breathed, barely audible. The figures moved closer to the cabin, examining the ground. One of them held a device that emitted a soft humming sound. They're tracking us, Lyra whispered. They followed your truck, then picked up our trail. What do we do? Nathan asked, his heart pounding. Lyra reached into a hidden pocket in her suit and pulled out a small round object. This is my last defense. It creates a temporary blind spot, a bubble where they cannot detect us, but it only lasts for a short time. Outside, the enforcers were getting closer. They were only about 50 yards from the cabin now. Use it, Nathan urged. Lyra twisted the object and it began to glow. A wave of energy pulsed outward, invisible but making the air feel thick for a moment. The enforcers stopped. They looked, confused, checking their devices and looking around. After a few minutes of searching, they moved away, deeper into the forest. Nathan let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. That was close. Too close, Lyra said. The blind spot. Won't fool them for long. We should move before dawn. Where can we go? They seem to be able to track us anywhere. Lyra's star eyes looked troubled. There is one place, my ship. Your ship. But it's damaged. And they'll surely look there. Yes, but they've already searched it once. They won't expect us to return. Lyra's glowing patterns brightened slightly. And my ship has a communication system. If I can repair it, I can contact my allies. You have allies? Other Astrani who believe like you do? Lyra nodded. Yes, including some in positions of power. If I can reach them, they might help us. Nathan thought about it. It was risky, but they were running out of options. Okay, he said finally. We'll rest for a few hours, then head back toward my cabin and your ship before dawn." As they prepared to sleep, Nathan on the small cot, Lyra on a makeshift bed of blankets, he realized how much his life had changed in just a few days. He had gone from a man with nothing left to lose to someone fighting for the future of humanity. "Lyra," he said into the darkness, "there's something you're still not telling me, isn't there?" Her voice came back soft and musical. "Yes, but I'm afraid that when you learn the final truth, you will turn away from me." "Try me," Nathan said. "After everything else, how bad could it be?" In the dim light from the wood stove, he saw her star, eyes watching him. "Tomorrow," she promised. "When we reach the ship. You deserve to know everything before you risk more for me." As Nathan drifted off to sleep, he wondered what secret could be worse than what he already knew. And he wondered why, despite everything, he felt drawn to this alien woman who had crashed into his life and changed it forever. Nathan's heart raced. "How long do we have?" "Minutes," Lyra said, working frantically at the controls. "My allies are accelerating their approach, but the enforcers will reach us first." "Can we hide? Run back to the forest?" Lyra shook her head. "Too late. They'll have the area surrounded." She looked up at him, her star eyes filled with determination. "There's only one option. We fight." "Fight? How? You said my rifle would be useless." "It will be." Lyra moved to one of the storage compartments Nathan hadn't opened. "But we have other weapons." She pressed her hand against the compartment and it opened to reveal several strange devices. She took out two, one that looked like a small rod and another that resembled a bracelet. "This is a pulse disruptor," she explained, handing him the rod. "Point and press here. It will temporarily disable their neural functions." "You mean knock them out?" "Essentially, yes." Lyra slipped the bracelet onto her wrist. "This is a shield generator. It will protect us from their weapons, but only for a few direct hits." Nathan held the rod nervously. "I've never been in a fight like this." Lyra placed her cool hand on his cheek. "I believe in you, Nathan Hayes. Your instincts are good. Trust them." A rumbling sound came from outside, a deep, vibrating noise that made the ship tremble slightly. "They're landing," Lyra said. "We should move outside. We'll have more room." To maneuver, they climbed out of the ship into the afternoon sunlight. The forest was eerily quiet, no birds singing, no wind blowing. In the distance, Nathan could see a large shape descending from the sky, a vessel much bigger than Lyra's ship. "That's their carrier," Lyra said. "It can transport up to 20. Enforcers, 20. Nathan felt a surge of panic. "We can't fight that many. We don't need to defeat them all. We just need to hold them off until my allies arrive." Lyra activated the bracelet and a faint blue field shimmered around them both. "Stay close to me. The shield works better when we're together." The carrier landed about 100 yards away, partially hidden by trees. A door opened in its side and figures began to emerge, tall, blue-skinned beings like Lyra, but wearing armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal. "Remember," Lyra whispered, "aim for the center of their chest. That's where their neural cluster is located." 3 enforcers approached, moving with unnatural grace through the forest. They carried weapons that looked like curved blades but glowed with energy. "Lyra, daughter of the sovereign star," one called out, his voice deep and resonant. "Surrender. Now. The council has ordered your return." "I will not return until the truth is known," Lyra called back. "The council's plan is wrong. Humans deserve to live." "The specimen with you will be processed," another enforcer said, gesturing at Nathan. "Surrender now, and its termination will be painless." Nathan gripped the pulse disruptor tightly. "It? I'm a specimen now?" "To them, yes," Lyra said quietly. "That's how the council views humans. That's what I'm fighting to change." The enforcers moved closer, spreading out to surround them. Nathan counted at least 10 now, with more emerging. From the carrier. "Last warning," the lead enforcer called. "Surrender or we will use force." Lyra's response was to activate something on her suit. The glowing patterns on her skin suddenly flared brilliantly, and she raised her hands. A wave of energy burst from her, knocking the nearest enforcers back. "Now!" she shouted to Nathan. The battle erupted in chaos. Nathan pointed the disruptor at the nearest enforcer and pressed the activation spot. A pulse of energy shot out, hitting the enforcer square in the chest. The alien froze, then collapsed to the ground. "It works," Nathan exclaimed, but there was no time to celebrate. More enforcers rushed forward. Lyra moved with incredible speed, her hands glowing with energy as she fought. The shield around them flickered as it absorbed hits from the enforcers' weapons. Nathan targeted another enforcer and fired the disruptor again. Another hit, another enforcer down. He was starting to feel more confident when a blast of energy struck near his feet, sending him stumbling backward. "The shield is weakening," Lyra warned, her voice strained. "We can't hold them off much longer." Nathan looked up at the sky, searching for any sign of Lyra's allies. "Nothing. We need to fall back," he said, firing the disruptor again. "Get back to your ship." They retreated step by step toward the crashed vessel. The enforcers pressed their advantage, their weapons creating a web of energy blasts around them. Just as they reached the ship, the shield around them failed completely. An energy blast hit Lyra in the shoulder, and she cried out in pain. Silver, blood began to seep from the wound. "Lyra." Nathan caught her as she stumbled. "I'm all right," she gasped, though her face showed pain. "Get inside the ship." They scrambled through the opening into the relative safety of the vessel. The enforcers surrounded it, their weapons ready. "It's over, Princess," the lead enforcer called. "Come out now or we will extract you." Inside the ship, Lyra moved to the control panel, her injured shoulder leaving smears of silver blood. "Not yet," she said, more to herself than to Nathan. "We're not finished yet." She pressed a sequence of symbols and the ship hummed to life. Lights flickered on panels that had seemed dead before. "What are you doing?" Nathan asked. "Emergency protocol. Last resort." Lyra's star eyes were intense with concentration. "If I can't transmit my findings normally, I'll broadcast them on all frequencies." Outside, the enforcers began to cut through the hull with their energy weapons. Sparks flew as metal gave way. "They're breaking in," Nathan warned, the pulse disruptor ready in his hands. "I need more time," Lyra said, working frantically at the controls. "Just a few more moments." The side of the ship began to glow red as the enforcers' cutting tools melted through. Nathan aimed the disruptor at the weakening spot, ready to fire as soon as they broke through. Suddenly a new sound filled the air, a high-pitched whine that made Nathan's teeth ache. The enforcers outside stopped cutting. "What's happening?" Nathan asked. Lyra looked up from the controls, her face showing hope. "My allies. They're here." Through the damaged hull they could see the enforcers looking up at the sky. A new ship had appeared, sleeker and smaller than the enforcer carrier, but fast. It swooped down, firing energy weapons that scattered the enforcers. "We need to get outside," Lyra said, moving toward the opening. "They'll land and extract us." Nathan helped her, supporting her injured side as they climbed out of the ship. Outside, the battle had shifted. The enforcers were retreating back to their carrier, firing defensive shots at the ally ship above. The ally vessel hovered about 50 feet above them, then released a beam of light that touched the ground nearby. "The extraction field," Lyra explained. "We need to step into it." They moved toward the light, but 3 enforcers blocked their path. Nathan raised the disruptor, but it no longer worked, drained of power. "Stay behind me," Lyra said, her voice suddenly stronger. The glowing patterns on her skin brightened intensely and she raised her hands. What happened next amazed Nathan. Lyra seemed to draw energy from the air itself. Her body glowed so brightly he could barely look at her. Then she released the energy in a wave that knocked the 3 enforcers off their feet. "Now!" she gasped, clearly weakened by the effort. "Run!" They sprinted to the beam of light. As soon as they entered it, Nathan felt a strange sensation like gravity had been reversed. They began to float upward, rising toward the ship above. Looking down, he saw more enforcers emerging from the carrier, firing up at them. But they were too late. Nathan and Lyra were pulled into the ally ship, and a door closed beneath them. They landed gently in a chamber similar to Lyra's ship, but larger and undamaged. 3 Astrani waited for them, blue-skinned like Lyra but wearing different clothing. "Princess," one said, bowing slightly. "We feared we were too late." "Your timing was perfect, Varen," Lyra replied, wincing as she touched her injured shoulder. The ship accelerated rapidly, throwing Nathan off balance. One of the Astrani steadied him, looking at him with curious star eyes. "Is this the human specimen?" the alien asked. "Not a specimen," Lyra corrected firmly. "His name is Nathan Hayes, and he has saved my life more than once." The Astrani looked surprised but nodded respectfully to Nathan. "We must treat your wound, Princess," another said, guiding Lyra to what looked like a medical area. As they treated her injury, Nathan moved to a window in the ship. The Earth was already growing smaller as they ascended rapidly toward space. His home planet, everything he had ever known, was shrinking to a blue marble. "It's beautiful from up here," he said softly. Lyra joined him, her shoulder now bandaged. "Yes, all worlds are beautiful from space. It's only when you look closer that you see the conflicts, the struggles." "Did you do it?" Nathan asked. "Did you transmit your findings?" Lyra nodded, her star eyes reflecting the Earth below. "Yes. The data is broadcasting now on all Astrani frequencies. The Council cannot suppress it anymore. All my people will know the truth about humans, about their potential. What happens now? We go to a sanctuary world where my allies have gathered. We prepare to confront the Council formally." Lyra took his hand in her cool one. "With you, by my side as living proof of what humans can be." Nathan looked into her star-filled eyes. "I still can't believe this is happening. A week ago, I was just a guy with nothing left. Now I'm leaving Earth with an alien princess to save humanity." They left the hunting cabin before dawn, moving quietly through the dark forest. The morning air was cold, their breath forming small clouds. Lyra's glowing patterns were dimmed to almost nothing, making her nearly invisible in the shadows. "How far to your ship?" Nathan whispered as they walked. "About 10 miles, Lyra replied. "We should reach it by midday if we move quickly." They traveled in silence for hours, stopping only briefly to rest or drink water. Nathan noticed that Lyra seemed more tense than before, her star eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. "What's wrong?" he asked during one of their short breaks. "I sense them," she said, her voice low. "They're still searching, and they've called for reinforcements." "More enforcers?" Lyra nodded. "They're taking this very seriously. We must be careful." As the sun climbed higher, they began to recognize landmarks near Nathan's property. They were getting close to where Lyra's ship had crashed. "Wait," Lyra said suddenly, stopping behind a large tree. "Look." Through the trees ahead, Nathan could see his cabin, or where his cabin should have been. Instead, there was just an empty circle of scorched earth. "What happened to my home?" he asked, shocked. "They shifted it out of phase," Lyra explained. "It still exists, but in a different dimensional pocket. They do this to remove evidence of their presence." Nathan stared at the empty space where his life had been. It struck him that there was truly no going back now. "My ship is just beyond those trees," Lyra said, pointing past where the cabin had been. "But we must be careful. They may have left traps or sensors." They circled around, staying hidden in the forest. When they reached the edge of the small crater where Lyra's ship had crashed, they stopped to survey the area. The ship looked the same as when Nathan had first found it, a strange twisted shape of metal that seemed to bend in impossible ways. Part of it was still buried in the earth. "I don't see any enforcers," Nathan whispered. "They're not here now, but they've been here recently." Lyra pointed to marks on the ground around the ship. "Those are scanner traces. They've examined the ship thoroughly." "Is it safe to approach?" Lyra closed her star eyes, concentrating. "I think so. They believe the ship is too damaged to be useful. But we should move quickly." They rushed across the open ground to the ship. Lyra led Nathan to the damaged section where he had first found her. The opening was slightly larger now, as if someone had forced it wider. They searched inside, Lyra said grimly. Let's hope they didn't find everything. They climbed into the ship. The interior was small but complex, with surfaces that curved and flowed like liquid. Strange symbols glowed faintly on control panels. Some areas were damaged with torn metal and exposed circuitry. Lyra moved to a central panel and placed her hand on it. The symbols glowed brighter, responding to her touch. The main systems are damaged but functional, she said, her voice showing relief. I can access the communication array. As Lyra worked on the controls, Nathan explored the small ship. It was about the size of a large van inside, with what looked like a pilot seat, storage compartments, and research equipment. Everything was designed for Lyra's smaller, lighter form. The seats too small for a human, the ceiling too low for him to stand fully upright. This is a research vessel? He asked. Yes, Lyra replied, still working on the controls. Designed for single pilot operation and extended observation missions. Nathan opened one of the storage compartments and found strange devices he couldn't identify. Another held what might have been food supplies, crystal-like objects that glowed faintly. Your people eat light, right? He asked. We absorb energy, yes. Those crystals store concentrated solar energy. Lyra glanced up from her work. They would be toxic to humans, so please don't touch them. Nathan closed the compartment quickly. Got it. After several minutes of work, Lyra made a sound of frustration. The long-range communicator is too damaged. I can't reach my allies. In orbit. What about short range? Nathan asked. Lyra's star eyes brightened slightly. Yes, that might work. If any of my people are nearby, I could reach them. She adjusted the controls and a different set of symbols appeared. I'm sending out a coded signal now. It's designed to be recognized only by those who share my views. While they waited for a response, Nathan sat down on the floor of the ship. His mind was full of questions. Lyra, he said, you promised to tell me the rest, the final truth you've been holding back. Lyra's hands paused over the controls. She turned to face him, her star eyes unreadable. Yes, she said quietly. You deserve to know everything. She sat down across from him, the glowing patterns on, her skin pulsing slowly. What I haven't told you is about my position among my people, she began. I'm not just a scientist. I am Lyra, daughter of the sovereign star of the Astrani Collective. Nathan stared at her. Your royalty? In your terms, yes, a princess. Lyra's voice was steady but quiet. My family has ruled the collective for thousands of years. We were among those who originally argued against terminating the human experiment. So, when you stole those records, it was seen as more than just breaking the law. It was betrayal of my position, my family. Lyra's star eyes looked into his. The enforcers hunting us aren't just following orders. They're trying to prevent a political crisis. Nathan tried to process this new information. So you're not just a fugitive scientist. You're a runaway princess. Yes. And there's more. Lyra took a deep breath. The reason I was able to access those forbidden archives is because I was being groomed to take my father's place someday. I was given special training, special access. Your father? The king? The sovereign star, yes. He is very old, even by our standards. He believes, as I do, that humans have potential. But he is bound by tradition and the council's decisions. Lyra's voice grew sad. When I discovered the plans for human extinction, I went to him first. He sympathized, but said nothing could be done. The council had decided. So you took matters into your own hands, Nathan said. Yes. I stole the records, downloaded all the data about the original experiments, and fled in this ship. Lyra gestured around them. I planned to release the information to all Astrani to force a public debate. But I was pursued, my ship damaged. I barely managed to reach Earth. Nathan leaned back against the wall of the ship. Why Earth? Why not go somewhere else? Because I needed proof. Evidence that humans are evolving as designed, not as a threat. Lyra's star eyes seemed to look beyond him. And because I believed that if I could find the right human, one who showed the best qualities of your species, I could convince my father to reconsider. A strange feeling rose in Nathan's chest. And am I that human? Is that why you stayed? With me, let me help you. I'm just evidence for your case? Lyra moved closer to him, her cool hand touching his arm. At first, perhaps. When you found me, when you helped me despite the risk, I saw qualities that supported my research. Compassion, courage, adaptability. She paused, the glowing patterns on her skin brightening. But as I've come to know you, Nathan Hayes, it has become more than research. I've grown to care for you in a way I didn't expect. Nathan looked into her star-filled eyes, not sure what to believe. Was this another manipulation? Or was this alien princess actually developing feelings for him? Before he could respond, a light flashed on the control panel. Lyra quickly moved to check it. A response to my signal, she said, her voice tense with hope. From a scout ship in orbit. Allies. She sent another coded message, her fingers moving rapidly over the symbols. The response came almost immediately. They can help us, she said, turning to Nathan with excitement. They can extract us, take us to safety. Extract us? You mean leave Earth? Yes. It's the only way now. The enforcers will never stop hunting us here. Lyra's star eyes were bright with urgency. My allies can take us to a sanctuary world where we can plan our next move. We can gather support, present my findings, stop the extinction plan. Nathan felt overwhelmed. Leave Earth? Travel to alien worlds? It was too much to process. What about other humans? He asked. We can't just leave. Them to be wiped out? We won't, Lyra promised. This is the first step in saving your species. With the data I've collected and you as living proof of human potential, we can convince enough of my people to stop the Council's plan. Nathan stood up, his head nearly touching the curved ceiling of the ship. This is crazy. A week ago I was just a guy about to lose his cabin. Now I'm supposed to leave my planet with an alien princess to save humanity? Lyra stood too, her expression serious. I know it's asking a lot, but there's something else I haven't told you. Something I discovered about you specifically. What about me? When I scanned you while you were sleeping, Lyra said, I found something unusual in your genetic structure. Markers that indicate you carry more Astrani DNA than most humans. Nathan froze. What does that mean? It means you're special, Nathan. Your ancestors were likely direct subjects in the original experiments. Lyra's voice was soft but intense. You have potential beyond most humans, abilities that may be dormant now but could be awakened. Nathan shook his head, backing away slightly. This is too much. I'm just a normal guy, an unemployed engineer about to be homeless. You are much more than that, Lyra insisted. Why do you think you were drawn to me? Why could you sense things about me that hers wouldn't notice? The connection between us is not rando.